ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Just double check my screen here to make sure everything's good. I'm where Ian wants me in the top 2/3, trying to shed the light out of the way, the recap of last week's meeting. All right, everybody, welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Todd, Tuckey, president here of the Greater Barrie Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank you for joining the Barrie Chamber and Sandbox today for our free workshop, Smartphone Videos Made Simple. Thank God somebody's doing this, because just try even log on tough enough. So the videos I can't wait to learn a little bit about here. So before we get into this, I'd like to introduce Paul Markle, our interim executive director. Paul, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for coming to one of our webinar series. We've had some great feedback on these, and again, they'll be available on our website for you to come and have a look at them afterwards. You know, Ian's done a fantastic job, and he's a big resource, and you can tell just by Todd and I, we've got screens behind us. You know, nobody's looking up our nose. So, I mean, we're already taking some of his advice to heart. We're glad you're here today, and please tell your friends. We want more people to come out to these. Without further ado, Todd, back to you.
Great, thanks, Paul. So over the past 2 months, we've all had to shift very quickly to working remotely and relying on our current technologies such as our smartphones and laptops. For many of us, using our smartphones to create content is something that we hadn't really planned on doing. Just lost my spot here, sorry. And now it has become part of, for most of us, our daily routine. And as we, as business leaders, are now finding that our time is to ensure that our online presence reflects our professional standards in business. And I'm glad you've joined us today to learn how you can do this with just your smartphone and a few inexpensive accessories. And with that, I'm going to introduce our speaker, the guy that knows more about this than anybody I actually know. Our speaker today is Ian McIntosh of IGM Photography. Ian's not only one of Barrie's top photographers, he's also co-owner of Flourish Vitality Yoga. When the pandemic temporarily forced the closure of businesses throughout the world, Ian and his partner in everything, Joanne Lougheed, decided to take Flourish online and do it well. They streamed their first class on March 16th, 2020, now offering live streamed and scheduled recordings of classes to their students, as well as on-demand classes for their VIP members. In the next month, they will expand their fully fledged online yoga studio to their website, and this will also utilize social media. After Ian's presentation, we will have a Q&A. To get your questions in, click the submit button to the moderator, and I will ask the questions of Ian. And with that, welcome Ian.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody who's watching on Zoom and also on Facebook and probably YouTube coming up. And I really appreciate the opportunity to tell everybody about how you can make great videos just using your smartphone. I've been doing it for quite a while. I really truly believe in it, especially with the newest models of phones these days. They are absolutely fantastic. And I think it's not all that difficult for people to start. The biggest challenge that most people have is getting started. So one of the things that I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you some ideas as to how to set up your studio, and also how to use the equipment and what sorts of things to do and not to do, and then get all sorts of other ideas that can help you publish your first videos online and even go to a Facebook Live if you so choose. So let me get started here. Hopefully, Barrie, make sure that the system sound is working. Can everybody see the video? I'm hoping nod your head yes. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So we're gonna talk about smartphone video made simple, and we're gonna make it simple. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna make it simple, and hopefully make it simple for me too. So one of the things I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start off with an example. A couple of years ago, I put a video together with a friend of mine, Trevor Cadlick at Flooring by Design, and he was gracious enough to help me show UGG, better, and best. So we'll start off with that. and so here we go. So just bear with me for 1 sec, and we're gonna go through it. We're gonna start off with the portrait orientation handheld microphone, internal microphone. Just like this.
My name is Trevor, and today I'd like to try a product line that we're featuring here in the store.
Okay, now I'm turning the camera sideways.
This system has
Still hand holding.
visuals, we have some tile visuals, and we also have wood style visuals as well. Commercially rated, heavy duty residential wear warranties.
Now you're going to hear a big difference here.
And this system is very unique, just recently launched from Armstrong. There's some beautiful visuals that resemble hardwood flooring planks, as well as some visuals that look like tiles.
And so now we're starting to get into a much more professional look.
Now, the interesting thing with Armstrong's take on the luxury vinyl tile is this fast tack technology. And let me show you why. Here we have a small panel with 2 pieces have been installed. And so we're able to simply remove a piece. As you can see on the underbelly,
Okay.
there's a little bit of the pressure sensitive adhesive that is there. So during installation, if it should happen to make a little mistake and we're not quite happy with it, we simply peel that right back up, get it in nice and close where we want it, and we're perfect.
So as you can see in that video, we started off the phone being portrait orientation. So that's vertical. The second, and I was hand holding it, kind of exaggerating the fact that it was handheld, so the phone was moving all over the place. But the sound was terrible because I was using the internal mic that's actually on the phone. You don't want to do that. The next one, I turned it sideways. So this is called landscape orientation. And by doing that, it makes it so that you're able to see wider. And people are used to seeing widescreen. So a TV, for instance, or a movie theater or any of that. We're used to seeing the world short and wide. So landscape orientation is much better. The third one, we switched to an external mic. I had a mic that was plugged into the phone, and then he was wearing it on his shirt. That's called a lapel mic or a lavalier mic. And then the fourth one, we actually started to do some video overlays. We did a cut in with the close up and to make it look even a little bit more professional by doing that. So these things are all possible directly on the phone, or if you have a tablet. Easier on a tablet than it is to do on later in the presentation. I'm actually going to show a video that I shot, edited, and published directly from them without using any editing on my desktop. So one of the things you want to do is you want to start looking at planning your. Hold on a sec. I'm just going to zip that up just a bit. First of all, you want to create a script. You want to know what you're going to talk about. Create a series of subjects if you want, and so each subject would be a single video. You want to choose a location, whether it's your house, whether it's outside, whether it's a project location, a work site, or whatever. You want to be able to choose it, and you want to be able to frame it so that it looks like a backdrop. Then you're going to set up your gear. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. You're going to shoot the video. You're going to render it. So editing is cutting it and trimming it and doing all those different things. And rendering it is turning it into essentially an MP3 or a type of video file that can be uploaded to Facebook, YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram, etc. And then you're going to publish it on one of those sites. More likely, you're going to publish it to a cloud-based like YouTube, Vimeo, or Facebook, rather than putting it directly on your website, because they have lots of storage and they're intended for doing that. So how do you start? Well, first of all, you want to write a script. This one's in German. I don't think you want to do it in German. You probably want to do it in English, unless, of course, you want to do a German video. Once you've created an outline and a script, then you memorize your lines. most people, when they're doing social media videos, don't necessarily create a word-for-word script. They might do a script outline with bullet points that you're able to just guide yourself through your points. But it allows you to stay on point and be concise when you're talking. Next is you're going to plan your shots. So depending on what kind of business you're in, what you're trying to accomplish, whether you're going to be talking directly to the camera or whether you're going to be talking in an interview style and looking to the person next to you, or whatever, it might be an action shot, or might be something that you're demonstrating something. You want to have a few different options as to how you're going to plan your shots. A teacher would be maybe sitting in one side, like what I'm doing here. I'm sitting in the corner of the frame, and I've got the shot. I've got my main information screen off to the other side. So that's some different things that you might want to consider. Secondary shots, you want to do, you know, like maybe when you're setting up the video, if you're going to be doing editing your video, you'll want to do establishing shots, some action shots, some close-up shots. You saw some close-up shots of the flooring where Trevor was demonstrating his low-tack vinyls that he could take it off the substrate and put it back on in place. That's a really handy thing to be able to do. An establishing shot, you see all the time when you're watching TV, it's like a wide panoramic shot, and then they start to zoom in, or maybe it's the streetscape of a policeman, for instance, or that would be the streetscape of your office. You want to sort of bring people in, not necessarily right into showing you doing what you're doing right at the beginning. Maybe you want to create some sort of an established shot. Action shots. So these two squirrels were having a lot of fun at Hyde Park earlier this month, and that's one of my action shots. So what do you need? Well, you don't need one of these. It would be great if you did, and if you knew how to use it. This is probably $100,000 worth of gear sitting on that tripod, but you don't need it. You really just need a smartphone. You know, like, it's not the fact that it's a smartphone. The new smartphones are fully capable of doing 4K video, which is probably too much for posting onto Facebook and YouTube. Most people post at 1080p, which is high definition. So that's 1920 pixels wide by 1080 pixels high. That's going to give you lots of resolution, and for an online video, pretty good. But you also do other things. You might need some lighting. You know, like if you want to work with natural light, you can certainly do it, as I talked about in last week's presentation. But if you want to be able to have more control, you want to be able to have lights that are more consistent. I typically am kind of photographer generally that I like to control my light. Harsh sunlight, like straight sunlight at noon or sometime between 10 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. in the evening, the light can be really harsh. So you're going to get lots of shadows and lots of highlights that are going to be way too hard for the camera to deal with. So you want to be able to deal with that. You want to put the camera on a tripod. So there are actually tripod holders for smartphones. Often you can find them as selfie sticks. The actual holder for the selfie stick has a connector that can connect to a tripod. So you can use that, and it holds it up on the tripod, nice and stable. And I didn't bring mine, but it holds it so that you're able to put it on a table. You can hold it on the floor. If you have a full height tripod, you can have it stand at eye level. And then you're also going to want to have audio gear. So a separate microphone, like when I'm talking on my videos, I use one of these. So this is a USB microphone. It's called a Blue Yeti. It's a really great microphone if you like that kind of, if you want to get something that's really good. Works really easily with your video. There are other options as well. You need to have a special connector if you're going to connect directly in. And you also can have an option of using a Bluetooth microphone, and that can work as well. So we'll go through a little bit of that as well a little bit later. So one of the things that I really find important is that you need to be in landscape mode. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but you want your phone to be this way, not this way. When you're doing videos, it makes it so much better. People are able to see the periphery of their of what's on the screen. So really, it's something that you want to make sure that you're doing as much as possible. With Facebook Live, if you're using an iPhone, I still don't think that you can actually do landscape orientation from your phone. So you might be stuck with doing portrait. If that's the case, I don't really see an issue working with it. But if you have an iPhone, I know for sure that the iPhones have a way to flip the orientation in Facebook Live so that you can use landscape orientation. I'm shooting with a studio setup a little bit different than what we have, than what we're talking about, but I'm able to go directly to Facebook Live in landscape orientation with the setup that I have. Whatever you can do to do it, what I would recommend doing it. If you're going to be recording, posting the video on Facebook as a recording, absolutely use landscape orientation. So this is up to you. You can do it and you can have some fun. Tag me, Ian G. McIntosh would be my Facebook tag or Instagram or whatever. Take out your phone, go to Facebook, tap on the live icon, and create a live video. So when we're done here, my challenge is to create a live video that goes on Facebook Live. Try it out. It's something that is the first step. If you haven't done Facebook Live before, might be a little bit awkward. You can always delete it at the end of your video, but it might help you get past that first stage of nervousness. When you're doing it, look at the lens, don't look at the screen, and try to come up with a plan for what you're actually going to say before you end up going live. Okay? So, positioning the lights. Really important here. Positioning the lights is harder. There you go. I'm just going to, I'm going to turn my, no, I'm not going to. I'm just going to sit up. There's 3 different lights that you can use. What I would suggest you use is the key light, which is the main light that you're using. So for myself, I've got a light over on the side over here, and that's my main light. On this side over here, I've actually got a reflector that reflects the light from the main light, and that fills in the shadows on the opposite side of my face. So as you might notice, the video quality, the picture is fairly even from one side to the other for me. What you want to do is you want to create that as balanced as possible, as much as possible. If you have a little bit more shadow on the fill side, don't worry about it, but that's just something that you want to consider. And then the backlight, what happens, not necessarily for me because I got one of these chromed out, so you can see some reflections already. Those are some reflections from above I've got some overhead lights that are creating those reflections. And I just say, okay, well, that's part of the course for being somebody who is follically challenged on the front of my head. So if you want, especially people with a full head of hair, really great to have what's called the backlight. And it's also called a rim light because what it does is it creates a little bit of an edge of light on the edge of your clothing, and it also creates some nice effects on the hair. Okay, so setting up your video recorder for the audio. You want to necessarily use the audio that's on the phone. Try to use the audio that's on, like, hook up a Bluetooth microphone. Even a Bluetooth headset, like a phone headset, sounds a lot better because you can actually walk around. You can be like 10 feet away from the phone. What we do at Flourish Vitality Center is we have a headset mic that we give to the teachers, and we use that instead of a packed mic because it's much more convenient, it's much more comfortable for them than wearing a belt pack when they are doing floor poses. So that's what, it's a little bit of a trade-off in terms of sound quality, but we found that it's a lot better, for sure. It's a lot better sound quality from directly from the phone's microphone, but it's also not too much difference than the quality of sound from a belt pack microphone. So like a proper lapel microphone or a headset microphone that's wirelessly hooked into the system. You want to consider doing a separate audio recording. So you might notice, you might have seen when somebody has when they're filming of a video, they'll actually have what's called a clapboard, that board that sits on and says take one, like that. It's probably a little bit loud there, and that's intentional. So that sound is what coordinates the sound from me talking and the movement of me talking. So it allows me to line those two things up at the same point. So when I see the actual contact of the clapboard and I see in the audio that I can control separately, I can shift one to the other so that they line up, and I'm able to have the sound and the visual line up together, which is really great recordings. So what kind of record video apps can you use? Well, nowadays, really the video or the photo app or the video app that comes with your phone is pretty darn good. There are better ones. There's one for iPad or iOS called Filmic Pro, which is really good. I use a product called Cinema FV5 for my Android, which is also really good. But just using the in-house video apps that come with an Android phone or with an iPad or iPhone, they're pretty darn good these days, and they are able to create really good quality videos and audio. Yeah, so hit record. So when you're recording, you want to leave some space at the beginning and at the end of the video where you're not saying anything. So when somebody does the clapboard thing, either you just clap with your hands or you have an actual clapboard. They clip, they clap, you're able to line everything up. Leave a couple of seconds where you're looking directly at the camera. Smile, and then start. So that way you're able to have a little bit of space before you start talking that allows you to trim the beginning off, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. You can trim the beginning off, and if you do the same thing at the end where you're just sitting there smiling at the camera like that for a second, and then I turn off the video. And if you want a number of different takes in the same take, while the camera's still rolling, you just say take two and do it again. Take three, do it again. I'm going to show a video a little bit later that I ended up with take 20, which kind of sucked, but I learned. And then, you know, smile for the camera. You want to smile because people are much more comfortable when you're engaging to the camera as the person who's on. Okay, so example number 2. This video that I'm going to show is a friend of mine, Pat Bongers from Cedar Coast Homes up in Muskoka, and we did this a couple of years ago with an older smartphone that I have, but I shot it, I edited it, and I posted it, published it, all directly from my cell phone. So I didn't take it out of my smartphone at all to edit or do any rendering or anything like that. So here we go.
You know, I just want to tell you about this home we built in Muskoka. It has a lot of features of a typical Cedar Coast home. This one's a little different though. You can see from the driveway coming in and the path, there are no steps, and we'll come up to the front door here and I'll just show you inside. Come on in here.
So one thing you might notice is that you can't see his microphone. That's actually a Bluetooth headset microphone that we're still using.
And here we are. What do you think? Let's walk straight through the house, right to the backyard. As you can see, we've come up from the driveway, and there are no steps from the driveway to the path, and no steps from the path into the house. And still, we come right through the back door, and there are no steps again, right to the backyard. So people can enjoy their home barrier-free from the front right to the back, and enjoy the sitting area out here.
All right.
Most people, they want to be in their home as long as they can. They really want to live out their life in their Cedar Coast home. They want to stay there forever. And so we design the homes to make that easy, allow people to stay in their home.
Okay, so you notice that no matter how far away he got from the camera, the sound was consistent. Now, when we went into the backyard, the sound was a little bit, had some wind noise. We could have fixed that by putting a wind sock. They call it a dead cat a wind cover or a wind sock. Just something fuzzy that doesn't muffle the sound, but it cuts out the wind noise. So we could have done that. Yeah, and let's see. So, okay, now that you've done your first video for Facebook, you could actually do a recording. So think about how you can do a recording with your camera. Put your camera on a tripod. Make sure that your camera is eye level, okay? So it's really important for the camera to be at the same level as your eyes, you know, maybe just a little bit under, probably not, maybe a little bit above. You're okay. It's better to be a little bit above eye level than below eye level, just because it makes you look a little bit better. But directly at eye level is absolutely the best way to do it. So then you hit record. You can do it with the selfie side of the camera, or you can have somebody pressing the button who's monitoring the screen. It can be handheld. You have to hold it really, really still. Put it on a tripod, or if you want to use like a selfie stick gimbal type of piece of equipment. I didn't bring one with me or show it. I'm not showing it, but there are ways to hand hold that are going to be able to minimize the shape and movement of your camera as well. So record a 15 to 30 second video, come up with an idea about what you're going to talk about, and take out your phone, go to the camera app, tap on video, press record. It's really that simple. It's not really anything more than just doing that. And especially when you're recording, you don't have to worry about it looking any good, because if it doesn't look any good, if you make mistakes, if you do stuff that's not right, then the next thing you do is you press delete and it sees it. So don't worry about it. The most important thing, as I said before, is to do it. And the more you do it, the more you practice it, the more you become comfortable being in front of the camera, and the less your words are going to trip over each other. It's almost like being in a Toastmasters group, but it's your own private little Toastmasters group that has this big black, void that's in front of you. But it's not that, it becomes more easy, or it becomes easier when you actually keep doing it. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to be. When I first started doing this, I would be terrified about looking directly into the camera. I wouldn't want to look at the camera. I would look off to the side. I would look down below. I was really happy looking at all the people who were on the video screen, on the Zoom screen, so I could go, oh, that's really cool. That person's doing something really interesting. But what's not happening is I'm not engaging with the person who's viewing the video. So the only way that you can do that is to look directly at the camera. There are other situations when you do not want to look at the camera, but when you're doing like tutorials or how-tos, or if you're talking directly to the camera, even if you're talking on Zoom, you want to look at the lens, because that's the way that people are going to engage with you. So try it. If it doesn't work, delete it. If it does work, post it on the chamber site or my site, or on my Facebook page. Tag me and show me what you've done. I would really love to see it. So once you've got it in the can, so to speak, the next thing you want to do is you want to edit it. So there are some apps that you can use. I use a program called Vivo Video, also Power Director. I can use I use the mobile version of Adobe Premiere and Adobe Rush, just some different programs that you can use. Find something that you're comfortable using it and try it out. Even YouTube has a creator studio now, and I think Facebook has actually started has launched something. I haven't tried it yet myself, but Facebook has launched something that allows you to edit videos after you've recorded them and uploaded them to Facebook, and you can put them into drafts and all that sort of stuff. So they don't have to go directly posted from when you upload it directly to posting it. You can you can edit them after the fact. On your on a desktop or laptop, there are choices. If you have a Mac, iMovie is a really great choice. It's free. You're able to do multiple tracks, so you can do overlays, you can do close-ups and cut-ins and all sorts of stuff. You can do picture-in-picture. That's kind of fun to do. There's a new program called DaVinci, which is a program that's made by Blackmagic, and it's free. DaVinci 16, I believe, is the version number, and you're able to do pretty much the same thing you can on iMovie. It's much more robust. It's got a lot more features, and it's free, and it's almost as good as the paid programs such as Premiere and Apple's Final Cut Pro. So some options for you to check out. So where do you do videos? Like most people host on YouTube. Some people, videographers, like to post on Vimeo, Vimeo, and a lot of people definitely post directly to Facebook. So why would you post to Facebook and to YouTube? Because they don't really like each other. So they don't rank each other's videos, and you might you might be better off sending the recordings to both platforms. And where else can you share them? You can share them on Twitter, you can share them on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google Plus. No, not Google Plus. That's dead. And Vimeo. There are other platforms as well. And you can also post them on your website. Once you've posted it to YouTube or to Vimeo, you can get what's called an embed code, and you can put that code into your website, so that it looks like the video is actually hosted on your website, which is really cool. Example number 3. Oh yeah, this one's mine. This was one that I did. This was a couple of years ago, so don't pay any attention to all of the information.
I think my favorite part was actually being able to sit down and make the video. So taking all the skills and the information about it and put it together, make the video, make our first video. That's awesome. That's how I learned how to do things. It's really hands-on, so that's appreciated and fantastic.
Thank you, Ian, for hosting the smartphone video marketing workshop. Wealth of knowledge as usual, and too much almost. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I especially liked making a video. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. I was at Ian McIntosh's smartphone training, so I learned how to do videos on my smartphone, and also the endless boundaries of things I can do with my smartphone. So I appreciate it very much. It's very good.
Hi, it's Ian from E&G McIntosh Photography. Do you want to market your business using video but don't know?
Okay, so we don't need to go through the commercial portion of it, but that commercial portion of it took me 20 takes to get right. So, you know, I wrote down the script. I did all of the, I practiced it a number of times, and it still took me 20 times so that I wasn't tongue-tied each time I tried it. So anyways, something for you to play around with. So that's it. That's the presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to get some good information and learn a little bit how you can create smartphone videos simply. Todd, over to you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Perfect. For some reason I don't, I can probably bring video back here. Here we go. Alrighty, there we are. Thanks.
Oh, look at you.
That was great. Very, very informative as usual from you. There's lots of quick tips and things. Always interesting, always lots of great info. So with that, Ian, on top of your great info, we'll get into a few questions. And
right.
One here, I'm not really sure if you'll be able to answer a more legal aspect possibly, but you may know. It says, if I'm filming my staff on the job for social media, do I need to get them to sign some kind of waiver, or is it enough to get their verbal permission?
I would get a written waiver. It's called a model release. And that way you're not having to worry about a disgruntled employee, somebody who want their likeness on video or in a picture. So anytime you take a picture and anytime you take a video of somebody, you definitely want to get a model release.
Right, absolutely. Okay, next one up. For business videos, is it appropriate to use sound effects and special effects, or does it really depend on your audience and your content?
It depends. Depends on your audience, depends on your content. I don't use sound effects myself, but it can be fun. It can be engaging. A lot of people do use them. And it's, adding, hold on, let me see if I can find it. There we go. I should have done that at the end of my presentation.
Okay. There's a dual in here. I'm going to read both again because they sort of overlap. So the first is, do you do anything for clarity of audio when filming outside and wind or other things that may cause disruption? And then the second half of that would be, any tips for reducing wind noise? Are there common household items that would work as wind screens?
Something that's loose fabric, fuzzy, like Angora wool socks, but the problem is muffling the sound. So you want the actual sound that you're trying to get to come through, and you're trying to disperse the sound from the wind. So you might have noticed when you're when you see somebody outside, maybe they're like an interviewer and they have like this fuzzy thing on top of their microphone. They call that a dead cat. So it's a dead cat windscreen. You can probably pick up something very similar, very inexpensively on Amazon, or maybe even locally through a place like Music Pro or Michael Enterprises or MTAV, and be able to make that something that is easy to deal with. Maybe even just putting it on the side of a sweater, a little, so that just a little bit tucks out, is visible, might help. Just the main thing that you want to do is you want to stop the actual physical air from the wind hitting the microphone.
Yes, you don't want to use an old pair of dirty socks then.
Depends on how dirty and how old, but I would probably put them through the washing machine first.
All right.
Hey, Todd, I'd suggest that you use the head cover from your driver, because you'd never come off that club anyway. So.
All right. Now we're on to golf. Next one up, Ian. If I'm filming outdoors, what is the best type of mic to use to avoid the noise of the wind?
It's not the type of microphone, it's the windsock, the wind cover that we just talked about. They call it a dead cat wind cover. So if you look that up online, you'll be able to find one.
Okay. Question here on remote triggers. What do you suggest for a remote trigger, or really getting technical now, how do you use an Apple Watch as a remote trigger? You have any thoughts, or do you know about those, Ian?
I don't use an Apple Watch, and I don't have remote triggers on my cameras. I use timers. So instead of worrying about using a remote trigger, I would go up to my phone and touch it, move back, wait a couple of seconds, smile at the camera, and then trim that portion off after when I'm doing editing.
Yeah, Paul, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was my question. I just thought I would throw it out there. I have an Apple Watch, which is a new acquisition, and I've been playing with the remote trigger mainly to catch people with video when they're not suspecting it. It's quite useful, but you can also get Bluetooth triggers if that helps as well. If that, you're just sitting back, it means you don't have to lean forward. You can just get yourself positioned and click, right? But
yeah, you could probably do something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
All right, Ian. So you had mentioned glare. Any suggestions on people with glasses and avoiding the glare?
Like me, right?
Well,
and yourself. So if I'm pointing in this direction, the reflection is not terrible, but you can get a lot of reflection off the top of your head, off your glasses, especially for glasses. One of the things that's really easy to deal with, to allow you to deal with it, is turn down the brightness of the screen. So, so with your cell phone, turn down the brightness of your screen, or turn it around. If you are out in the world and like you've got direct sunlight, you've got some challenges there for sure. And I don't really recommend shooting midday sun anyway.
Okay. So you actually just mentioned outside. The next one, Ian, is do you have any recommendations for shooting outside versus shooting inside?
Outside versus inside, like I wouldn't do one versus the other. I would do both. It really depends on particular circumstances. If you have a situation where you're, for instance, a contractor and you're doing outdoor work and you want to know what's going on and you want to be the on-screen personality talking about the project at hand, you have to recognize that those are challenges that you have. So maybe you stand in the shade, maybe and have the camera exposed to the level of brightness on your face rather than just generally. And there are ways to change that in your camera. I don't know. It's all specific to each camera model.
Okay.
For indoors, when you're indoors, I particularly like shooting indoors myself because I can control the amount of light that I use. And you don't have to use high-end video lights. You can use floor lamps. You can use your overhead lights. You can use stand lights. I know people who use work lights to do it. But one of the challenges is that the color of the light might be different from one light to another. So a regular incandescent light bulb, which is in industry terms, it's called a tungsten bulb because the film is made from tungsten. That is an orange light or a yellow light. The old fluorescent lights, not now anymore because they've changed it, they've fixed it. They are green light, and what we call daylight is more neutral. So what I've got in front of me is neutral lights. So that makes it easy for me to change the light, but the cameras will adjust.
Yeah, and you're right. You can actually buy those bulbs at pretty much all the hardware stores now. You can buy the daylight bulb, etc. And everyone certainly puts off a different hue.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So if you're looking for some lights, the LED lights can tend to cause a flicker. So compact fluorescents or fluorescent bulbs are sometimes a good choice because they don't have that same kind of flicker. The other thing is that you want to look for the light color or the color temperature. It should be around 5,000 K. Okay. So you're looking for the 5,000 K. Orange light or incandescent light is 2,000 to 3,000 K, and then fluorescent light or blue light or green light is 7,000 K. So, 5,000 K is sort of like the bare version.
Okay, and I'm pretty sure I saw part of this on one of your slides up there, but you may have a different answer compared to the slide selfie. And so, excuse me, the question is, how long of a video would you recommend for a business? If I'm not doing a workshop with set content like this, how long will people pay attention to a video that I'm using to try and draw attention to my social media?
Shorter the better. People are saying between 2 and 3 minutes. If you're doing a tutorial, it can be anywhere from 5 minutes to what we're dealing with now, which is coming up to an hour. I like giving shorter snippets of information. So almost as if it's like a commercial. If it is a commercial, make it less than 60 seconds, somewhere between 30 to 60 seconds. Some people will extend it to 90 seconds. If you're saying things twice in a video, cut it out, right? Edit it out. You really need to make your videos as succinct as possible. Think about it when you go to YouTube and you want to learn a particular thing or you want to know a particular thing, you're going to choose the shortest video that you can find in order to get that information. If I can find out something in 1 minute that takes somebody else 5 minutes to talk about in a video, which one do you think I'm going to go to? I'm going to go to the 1 minute. And then if I don't get enough information, then I'll go to the 5 minute.
Okay. Next one up. How often is appropriate to have live videos on a business feed? Should I save it for when I have something important to share or announce? Or is it okay to do regular check-ins with daily staff activity to get to know my team better?
It really, it depends. I would say, how often? If you want to create a regular series of videos, something that you're giving a particular new bit of information, it could be daily, it could be weekly. If it's monthly, it needs to be something that is sort of really engaging, something that people are looking forward to. A lot of people actually create an autoresponder that, once somebody has signed up, that they see the video 1 on the first day, video 2 second days, video 3 third day. I look forward to some videos on a daily basis. I look forward to some videos on a weekly basis. It all depends on the content and the context of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think if you're sending out too much stuff, but there's no real value or content behind it, eventually after a while, those that are watching will just say, okay, I have no interest, or I have limited interest, because my time is valuable and what they're sending out is just not worth my time or attention right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like one of the biggest challenges that membership sites have is that the members are inundated with information. They're given too much information, and that's the apparently number one reason that people leave membership sites.
No, absolutely, and you're correct, because once you get overloaded, it's like, okay, that's just too much from one source, unless
That's
you're
right.
physically actively looking for something. Because I can tell you right now, with the pandemic going on, and Paul will echo this, we're getting an incredible amount of feedback with people saying, thank you for the information, thanks for staying on top of this, thanks for driving everything out there. And seminars like the one you're doing right now, Ian, because people are finding great value in this, especially when they do happen to have a little more time in their hands than they normally would.
Yeah, Ian and I were discussing that before we started today. You know, I mean, I think next couple of weeks as people reopen, they're not going to be watching as much of these, so we'll have that content available. But once they reopen and find that, you know, maybe they're slow, they may be able to jump back in and watch a few more of them. But we've adjusted by making these about 45 minutes, and we may even go to a half an hour, just to be able to fit them in and, you know, part of a lunch hour or, you know, part of a day, so they don't take up as much time to get through the content. So we're asking our presenters to squeeze a bit, and then leave it up to, you know, people able to watch and ask questions of the content provider at a later date. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really important for people who are doing what we're doing to understand who their audience is. Like when we first started with Flourish, we were doing 4 live classes a day. We're down to 2 live classes a day, and we don't get very many live attendees. Most of our students are watching. They're watching the on demand. So. Yeah. They're choosing when they want to watch. They know that they want to do the classes, but they want to do it on their own schedule, which we're trying to make it easier for them to do it. And so having these webinars and workshops recorded allows people to say, okay, well, I'm going to go check that out. I know Ian's got he's always got a good presentation.
Yeah.
But I don't have to deal with it right now, and I'm the same way. Like I know that I've got people that I've got videos that I want to watch. I just can't watch when they're live.
No, exactly. And Paul and I were on a call last week with some of the industry leaders here in Barrie, and one of them, that's exactly what they said, is that they and their staff look forward to these meetings and things, but they can't always catch them live because, fortunately for them, they're busy. So, but they are still watching. They're watching at a different point during the day when they actually have the opportunity to take it in and digest what's going on with it. So, yeah, even though, you know, you look at a meeting and go, well, okay, we've only got 30 viewers or whatever. Well, by the time the day's over, the week's over, that could be 300, 500 views, depending on, you know, what the content is and the value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So, Paul,
the chamber, we were talking today with the staff, and Julie and her team are going to modify the web page to make all of this content more easily found, and in one spot on the front page. Right now, you got to dig, and you know, for guys like Todd and I we're impatient. We can't find it in 6 seconds. We start getting frustrated. So that stuff's going to be, you know, front and center, and it, you know, we kind of look at it as being a resource library that people can refer back to, and make that content available. You know, the one thing I said to them today is, we work so hard to put this content together. It's a shame when nobody sees it. So we want to make sure that it's accessible and then pressed out through social media channels and easily gotten to.
Absolutely. The more accessible it is, the more people who can view it, the more people that are going to engage with the chamber. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what, your sessions are helping us. For taking the lessons that you're teaching us to heart, and actually, you know, using some of those tactics and techniques in the background. So thank you.
That's awesome.
With that, Ian, any closing comments?
Sure. my first comment is for anybody who's still listening and still watching, get out and do it. Just pick up your phone right now and go to Facebook Live or create a recording, and it's the first step. If you do it, then all you have to do is just keep moving, but the first step is always the most important. And for the Chamber, I really appreciate all of the opportunities that are presented through being a Chamber member. As some people know, I'm an ambassador, and I am actually, I'm proud to be a representative of the Chamber, and I'm really happy that I'm able to provide great information for people who are interested in learning how to be better at doing video online.
Yeah, yeah. And we appreciate you being here, Ian. You've been very helpful and very easy to work with. So great relationship we'll continue to have for a long time moving forward.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. Everybody have a great day.
Great. Thank you. And we appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. And in closing, thank you again for joining us and for the work you're all doing in your businesses every day. We urge every leader in our community to continue your focus on the singular objective of slowing the pace of the transmission of this coronavirus. Both our federal and provincial governments have enacted measures that will only be effective if all employers continue to do their part to protect our provincial health and welfare. Both the Barrie Chamber of Commerce and the Sandbox are here to help you through this. Feel free to call out or reach out if you need anything. Also, as always, we implore everybody to shop local. Every little bit will help, whether it's a gift card, gift certificate from a restaurant, ordering out from a restaurant, from one of our great shops downtown or elsewhere. Every little bit is going to help as we're slowly starting to roll out of this and get back to some sort of normality. And then last but not least, as social distancing measures are slowly being lifted, please ensure that you continue to follow all requirements and take them seriously. They are not to be taken lightly. Even though the fear may be wearing off as the summer months come, our main priority is to keep the community safe and healthy, which is the responsibility of each and every one of us collectively. And with that, thanks again, Ian, Paul, and all our participants. Everybody, have yourselves a great day.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll see you later.
Bye now.